Hey everybody, it's JANEE with Mother's Treasure Paint Studio. Today we're painting this really cute horse from Diverse Woodworking. And as you can see, I've gone ahead and chalked out my design. And my design is based on an image that I did on my tablet. So I wanted it to look like a person's face, and then the horse's hair is their hair, and then you can see a horse here as well. So we're gonna give it a try and see if it turns out. It may just be a hot mess, but we're gonna give it a try. Something I'm also trying to do is to record while I am painting. So you'll just have to bear with me, and let's hope that this turns out halfway decent, okay? So first, what I'm gonna do is paint my horse. And on my picture, my horse is brown and the ears are brown. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna use this big brush to just go ahead and get started. We may have to come on here and do a second coat just because we want to make sure it's nice and solid. Right now I'm able to see some streaks, so we'll come back in a little bit and add that second coat. And right here I'm going to move down to a smaller brush just to make sure that I don't make a mess when I'm trying to do these outlines. So I'm going to move down to this liner brush. I don't know if you can see that. And that way I know that I'm going to have a nice sharp line here at this chalk line. Oops, not too much. If you'll roll that brush, then you'll make sure you have a nice sharp edge. Okay, so now I'll pick back up on this larger brush, get some of that water off of it, dab it off. And then we can just go right up to that edge with this big brush. See there how easy that was? I had a little extra paint, so we'll smooth it all out. Okay, and now we'll come up here and paint these ears with what I have left on my brush. Okay, so now we're going to let that dry, and while that's drying, we're going to work on the base of the face, I think, and that's going to be black. It's going to be like a silhouette. And I'm going to use a much smaller brush for that. I'm going to move down to this smaller brush, and that way I can get into these areas a little bit better. So right now, because I have chalked over top of this, I'm picking up quite a bit of chalk on my brush. So we'll have to go back over this with a second coat, and that's okay. But if you pick up a little chalk, just go ahead and keep on painting, pick up more paint, and then you can come back in and do a second coat later once it's dry. This may turn out terrible. Like I said, this is just an experiment. I saw a design online that I liked, and I thought, well, I wonder if I can try to do that. So sometimes these are hit and miss. So we'll learn. If it doesn't turn out, we'll flip it over and we'll paint the other side. What do you think? That's what I like about these two, is you can always paint the other side, but you can also sand it off and just paint it again. So that's always a possibility. If you have a sander at home, you can just sand the little paint off with a really fine sander and do a do-over. So I love that. Let's see. Some of my chalk outlines are hard to follow. So did you see all that chalk I just picked up on my brush? That was a lot of chalk. So we're going to pick up a lot more here in just a minute. Notice that I'm turning the brush sideways. Do you see the chalk? I don't know if you can see it. But anyway, just pick up a little more paint and carry on. We'll come back in with a second coat to cover it. Notice how I'm turning this brush sideways to get into those little smaller areas, and it gives it a really sharp line, so that's always good. That's why this brush is pretty versatile. Get in these small areas and create a nice sharp line, sharp edge. Something about this reminds me a little bit Native American, this design that I'm trying. It just looks really, really pretty to me. So I'm hoping, keeping my fingers crossed, that it turns out good. Okay, now we will come over here and get the hairdryer and make sure this is dry. Make sure you move your plate out of the way so that the hairdryer doesn't blow on your paint and dry what you're trying to work with. So now I'm going to go back to this big brush. Now make sure you wipe it off, because if you don't, there's a little bit of a curve right here, and water will sit there and then it'll drip onto your piece and it'll make a mess. So always wipe that off after you get it out of the water. Let's go back over here and get our paints. Now I'm just doing a solid color, but you could totally come in here and do some highlights and lowlights, some shading, and it would be really pretty. I am not sure I'm ready to do that because I don't want to mess it up. I'm already experimenting quite a bit by just doing this design, so let me just get through this part first, and if we want to add some design later, we can, but right now, I'm sorry, not design, some shading. Later we can, but right now I'm a little hesitant to do that because I want to make sure it would look right. I'm going to put my glasses on because I'm working on this little tiny edge and I can't see very good anymore with my eyes, so I thought I better put those glasses on so I can see what I'm doing. Look, that worked perfectly for getting right up to that edge. Now you can turn this piece all around if you need to make sure that you've got a smooth edge and you can get to things without resting your hand on it. You can turn it however you need to so that you can get the angle that you're needing to in order to get a nice smooth line. I like to rest my hand. Sometimes you'll see that I use my pinky to rest my hand. If I am trying to paint and I don't have anywhere to put it, I'll use my pinky to try to balance my hand, steady my hand. Some people, it's funny because some people just do things like that automatically and they don't even realize they're doing it. And then some people have no idea even where to begin trying to balance their hands. So it's something I try to be mindful of those people who maybe it doesn't come natural to just sit your hands, you know, to prop on your pinkies. So I'll try to give little tips here and there when I can. I've got a little paint mess, got a little too much on there. Okay, so now while that's drying, I'm gonna go back over my black. And I'm sure there's probably much better ways and processes to do this in order to paint things in, but I just sort of do what I feel, and that may be wrong in some artists' eyes, and that's fine. I'm not trying to be Bob Ross or anything. I'm just a lady who enjoys painting. So that's why I think people enjoy watching the process, because they too are just trying to figure it out. And I try to put it in terms that everybody can understand, even if you're not an artist and you don't have any artist background, that you can still hopefully follow along with me and come out with a piece that's still really pretty, that you're proud of. And that's the key. Even if nobody else likes it, as long as you like it, that's what matters, because it's your piece and you did it yourself. That is something to be proud of. It is not an easy task trying to do something that you're not accustomed to. Now you'll notice right there I just propping my pinky to try to get these little nooks and crannies. So that gives you an example of what I was talking about, because I don't want to rest my hand on this paint, because black's very unforgiving, and if I smudge, see, if I smudge the black, I'll have one more mess that I'll have to fix. And I really try to not do that. So that makes the painting process a little less fun when you're constantly having to fix an oops, which I have done many times. Makes it quite challenging. You spend most of the time trying to fix a oopsie. Okay, good enough. So we've got those two coats done. So now we're going to dry them again. Make sure that my plate does not fall in the floor. Okay. So I know that hair dryer is crazy loud, I'm sorry, but really that's the best way to do it and not have to sit here all day and wait for that to dry. So I've got my two coats there and my two coats there. So now I'm going to look at my picture, see if I can get the picture to show up. Okay, so let's see if you can see it. There's the person and the horse, and now we're going to work on the mane. And let's see, can we zoom it? And we're going to try to add some flowers on there. So we're going to give that a try and hope for the best. Oops. Okay. So I'm going to work with this medium brush. Even though I've got quite a bit of room I need to cover, I'm going to use the medium brush because I'm not really sure how I want to do it. So, it looks like we had a little bit of black and a little bit of brown mixed together to make a darker color. Kind of an in-between the two colors. No, can you see the difference in that shade there? Ooh, I'll try it. So we took a little bit of black and a little bit of brown, and we got this darker color. I'm going to try to mix up a lot because I've got quite a bit of ground to cover with this, and so make it a little extra. Okay. you can't really see a huge difference in that shade of brown. So I may come back in a little bit with another color. Maybe we add a little more dark to it. I don't know. Maybe we need to add light to it. Maybe that's the key. Let's just work with what we've got for now, and we'll come back over it and do those second coats. That might make a big difference. Now I'm going to just leave a little bit of an idea where that line is right here, because I'm going to come back over this, and this will give me a guide of where my original chalk lines were. So I'm picking up quite a bit of chalk dust. That's fine. We're just going to cover what we can and go back over it in a few minutes. Steady our hand again. Try to get in these little corners. There we go. You notice I overlapped the black right there. That's okay. We'll come back in and fix that in just a few minutes. It's not going to hurt a thing. We just want to leave enough of a line to remind us where that outline was. Okay, so I'm almost done with this part. This is a little tricky trying to get this brush to be smooth in these corners, but that's okay because we can come back over and fix it, so it's fine. I had a little extra on my brush, so this one's still a little dry, and we'll go ahead and add that little bit of extra that's on my brush to do that second coat on this first little part of the mane. There we go. Now we'll come back over here and get these little corners. Yeah, there's no sense in wasting that, you know, when we could do our second coats there. All right, so now let's dry this. Same brush, we're just going to pick up and do our second coat on those areas that needed the second coat. Got a lot of stringies in the paint for some reason today. I think it must have gotten a little dry from, hadn't used that color in a little while, that brown, so seems like maybe it had a little bit of dry spots. So what I could have done in drawing this on is I could have left parts of it blank up here at the top over the main where I intend to put flowers, but I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to try to fit into all those nooks and crannies, and I didn't want to be so tied down to that. So I went ahead and painted it, and then we're just going to think about this as if it's layers. And we're just going to add a layer of flowers over top of these brown areas. But we're going to work on that in a minute. Right now, we're still going to work on that shading and stuff on the main. So rinsing off this brush again, we're going to pick up some of this brown. We're going to bring it over here and make us a lighter shade of brown. So we're going to pick up some water and dip in here just to smooth it out. This white, for some reason, dries out really quickly, and we don't want it to be gunky. Alright, so let's mix this color. Put us a little more water on there. We want it to flow nice off of our brush, and usually you can tell after you've done it a little while, you can tell when it starts getting globby, and that means it's drying out a little bit. And I know I'm using a lot of really technical terms such as globby, but you know, you get what I'm saying. Okay, so you see there I went ahead and wiped off that brush. Get that little drip of water off. And we're going to try to make some relaxed little streaks down through here as if it's the horse's mane. It's harder to do than you would think. And we're going to do the same thing over here on each of these. Just a few little lines to show where our horse's mane is. And as if there's multiple shades of the hair. I think that's looking pretty. I hope you guys are having yours turn out well. Again, keep in mind that we're going to go over this with flowers, so you don't want to worry about too much detail. We're just trying to make it look consistent, and the best way to do that is to think of it in terms of layers. So right now we're doing the underneath layer, and so that our lines don't look choppy, like we're trying to paint around a flower, this was the best way to accomplish that look. Now we totally could have painted around flowers and done it that way, but to me, I just have a hard time with that. I think it's difficult, so I felt like for me, and hopefully you guys, this was the easiest route to take. Okay. So let's cover this little section here. There we go. Oops, I picked up the wrong color. There we go. Let's rinse that. There we go. Okay, so now give this a few wispies. And I hope that you guys are loving your horse's mane. I think it's really cool. All right, so now we'll come back in and we'll even do some white strokes. Let's see what the original looked like for my idea. So there we have, looks like we have the black, the darker brown, and some lighter shades. So we're gonna go in and do those light shades now, and we're gonna outline all this, the rest of it. And rather than doing white, I'm just gonna try to make this brown even lighter. Just because I like that little bit of a shade to it. White is such a contrast from that black. I don't think I want that much white. So now I'll try to water this down a little because it's very thick. So you see, I'm just dripping water in there. And when you can start see it rolling, that's good. You don't want it too much more thin than that. That's pretty perfect right there. Okay. So now we're gonna pick back up this brush and we're gonna get the water off of it again. And then, see if you can see everything okay. Then I'm gonna roll this brush in my white and my really, really light tan. And we're gonna go for it. So I'm just gonna go for some outlines. Okay. So now we're going to do that same thing on the face, and I'm really scared to mess this up, so just hope that we don't. Just hope that we don't. There we go. You guys, I hope yours is turning out good. I'm super excited. I think this is looking okay. Okay, so you guys see, I'm usually really trying to get super crisp lines, but you can see like right in here, these are a little bit faded out where the paint is running out on my brush. And I'm just coming back in to add a few little streaks here and there. I'm okay with them not being perfect again because we're gonna come back over this and cover it with some flowers. But my general idea is I like how that faded even. I think it looks a little bit pretty. So I'm okay with that. We're just gonna come in up to the top and add a few here and there. Okay, that's good. Oh, we gotta do these ears. So we're gonna do, let's see, I'm gonna do this little wisp up here and this one down here. And we're gonna do the same thing on this ear. Give that a little line down. And it looks like on my original, I have gone with a streak down through here. So, yeah, I'm a little scared, but we're gonna do it. There we go. I picked up a little bit of that brown right there that wasn't dry. That's okay. All right. How are y'all feeling about your work? Is it turning out okay? I think it's turning out pretty. All right. So now we're going to dry this, and then I'm going to come in and add some flowers. So now my flowers. If we can look at these flowers, I've started with a lighter shade of pink and moved, see, I'm trying to figure out how you can see that without it being so glary. A lighter shade of pink, moved to a darker shade, and then white over that. So let's work on that. There's no rhyme or reason really of where these flowers are. We're just putting them wherever the mood strikes us. And I'm just going to try to use this same little brush, just no reason, just because I like it. Okay, wipe the water off. We may come in and add some water, but right now we want it wiped off. We don't need a lot of pink to make our light pink. We actually need more white. Mix in as much white as we can. There we go. That's pretty. So we'll work with these two shades and then add the white in there also. Okay. So I start with just a few little curves, little circles here and there. Nothing really detailed, nothing super fancy. Just a few circles or half circles in different areas. Okay. And we'll even have some over here that overlap off the edge of our mane. I think that'll be pretty. Okay. And I'm going to come in and add some smaller ones in a minute to fill in this space, but right now that's what I wanted to do right there. Might even make this one a little bigger, like it's overlapping. There we go. Okie doke. Now we're going to take a smaller brush. Where is it? Where is my flat brush? There it is. This is just a small flat brush. It's just teensy, and I'm going to use that to do this same thing, but some smaller flowers. No rhyme or reason, just some different little shapes, you know, just, you don't want them to be perfectly round. Just a few little here and there, different little curves here and there to give it a different shape. Okay. I think it looks so beautiful. All right. So now we're going to come in, rinse that out. We probably didn't have to, but that's okay. Then we're going to take the darker pink, and And we're going to go in there and just add some different little sections of pink. And they're going to blend a little bit, and that's cool because it's not a big deal at all. See there? I went and picked up the wrong color, so let me fix that again. So basically when you're doing a flower, you just do alternating half circles in different directions, and you really can't go wrong. Of course, the closer to the center you are, you make maybe smaller strokes, maybe closer together. And as you go out, they're further apart, and that gives the idea that the flowers are opening maybe. And of course, you know, overlapping is always okay. I try to not overlap too terrible much just because I don't like it when they look all squished together. I like them to be all fanned out, like the flowers are opening up a little bit. You know, get right up there on the edge if you need to. It isn't going to hurt a thing. You know, the more of these you add, that's fine. Okay, so now I'm going to do the smaller ones, but because they're so small, I'm going to use this super tiny liner brush. I don't know if you can see that. I'm just going to use it for the smaller flowers. And we're going to just do that same thing, just alternating little lines in our flower. So that one is done. See how easy this is? It's just super, super easy. And we're going to come back in with a little bit of white, and we're not really going to overthink it too much. If you overthink it, it starts looking like you overthink it. I like to try to just throw it on there with a little rhyme and reason, you know, like you have a little plan, but don't overthink each stroke, because then it starts looking like you're stressing about it, and you don't want to stress about it. This is supposed to be relaxing. Okay, so now I've rinsed that off. We're going to pick up this brush again, and we're going to do the white in here. Actually, I'm not going to use this brush. I am going to use, where did my liner brush go? There it is. I'm going to use that black liner brush that I like so much. And we're going to need white, but I don't have any white on here, so let's get some white. Now, pick up a little bit of water, mix in here just to thin it down, because that white gets super blotty for some reason. Okay, get the water off your end again by rolling it on your napkin, and then just come in here and pick up some white, and then you're just gonna find little places where you didn't have any color and add a little bit of white. Some lines can be thick, some can be small, they can overlap. There is no right or wrong. Just gives it a little something different. Look how pretty that turned out. We'll do the same thing on all the rest of them. See, these are even overlapping a little, and that's fine. I think it looks really pretty. And it's picking up a little tiny bit of that pink and spreading it out even over there, but that's fine too, because, you know, these flowers, they're not all universally, you know, a solid color. A lot of, you know, they blend, so that's okay. Now we're going to do that same thing with the small one, but we're going to use that liner brush again, that little itty bitty hairy brush. we're going to add a little water to it because it's already thickening up. And the more water that you have, the better it's going to flow. So we're going to rinse that, we're going to dry it off again. And then we're going to come back in and pick up some paint. See how little that is? We're going to start back up here so that we have room to work and rest our hands. And then just move on down. I got the shakes today for some reason. I don't know why. It's like I had too much caffeine or something. And the sad thing is I've actually had less caffeine. Maybe that's it. I'm having withdrawals. Alright. So, got that one done. I'm going to come down here to this one. I had a little too much paint on my brush, so we're going to just try to not worry about it. We're just going to carry on, not worry about it. Okay. Ta-da! Look how beautiful. I love it so much. Okay, so now what am I going to do with it? I believe I'm going to come in with my black and do a few little light outlines around the horse, and then I'm going to give a few more outlines around the flowers just to finish them off, and then we'll be done with this piece. And because I want little thin black lines, I'm going to try, I think I'm going to try with this little liner brush. Let's see what happens. If we don't like it, we can always come back over and fix it, but I added some water, so I'm just going to rinse that off, make sure it doesn't get too much watery stuff on it here. Okay. Now this, I'm trying to give a little bit more attention to the strokes, because I don't want it to mess it up, because I'm really, really loving this so far, and I'm afraid that if I'm not careful, I will goof and mess this thing up, and I really like it. So now you'll notice that that black really just gave it a much better finished look. And so we're going to do that same thing over here on the ears, but I'm going to turn it because I don't want to rest my hand on something. So we'll do that over here. Just a little black line on the outside of this ear, maybe a little right here. I think that really gives it a beautiful finish and touch. I like it a lot. And again, my hands are shaking. I don't know why it's shaking so much, but it sure is. Give that a little line there, just a little something. Okay. So now, I feel like my flowers are ready to be outlined. I'm pretty happy with all of this. I've got a little place right here that had some wisps. So let's fix that. There we go. All right. So now I'm going to work on outlining these flowers, but because of the way that's wet, I'm going to start down here. Just pick up a tiny bit of paint and come out here and give these flowers a little outline. And I'm overlapping them a little bit. You see how I've overlapped that? So it looks like that petal goes in a little further. That's fun, I like that. You wouldn't want to do that on all of them, but a few here and there, really cute. It gives them a nice finished look that I think is adorable. And I also came in a little bit here and there with a little bit of black. Swish. just to tie it all together. Notice that I'm loading this brush pretty frequently because I want to make sure I have a crisp line. So now this little section right here is at the end of our cutout, so I'm just going to try to keep it on the edge as much as possible so it gives a nice edge to the flower. And then here we go with these little bitties again. These little bitty ones are harder for me to do for some reason because I'm shaking for some reason today. Just when you start seeing your brush separate right there on the end, just dip in the paint again and get you another dab of paint. So see, that one I got a little crazy on the end, but we fixed it. Okay, so I had that wet right there a minute ago, so be really careful if you find that you have any wet areas. Remember where the wet stuff is so you don't smear. So then you have a mess on your hands, and it's hard to fix a mess once you're in the middle of your painting. So try your best to remember where those are at. So that I can get to this one and rest my hand, we'll turn it around. So I hope you guys are doing okay. I have tried my very best to do this video while recording, talking and recording at the same time, and this is quite a challenge and something I probably will not be able to do all the time because I am a one-track mind person and I am bad to get really quiet when I'm focused. So a lot of the videos you see, I've done a recording while I was painting, but I'm talking over the recording just to give you guys direction because, oh, I missed a flower and I missed that flower. See, one track mind. I can't do two things at one time. Anyway, so I've done the recordings to help you guys, but usually they're all pre-recorded and I go talk over them at the end and tell you what I did. But this one, I thought I would get real crazy and try to do them both at the same time. And I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of difficult and a lot scary because what if I say something crazy and not what I meant? I can't go fix it. So I'm working my courage up to go do a Facebook Live at some point, but who knows when that's gonna be because that is way crazy. Okay. So now we are finished. That is the finished product. Well, you know what? I'm gonna do one more thing. I was gonna say finished, but now I'm getting ahead of myself again. One track mind. All right, so I'm gonna roll this and then I'm gonna add a few little black lines in the mane just to tie all together with the flowers and the beautiful face down here. We just add a few little wisps here and there, following along some of these other lines. I think that'll tie that in a little bit more. I was thinking a minute ago when I was painting those flowers, I felt like my mane needed a little something else. we go. I think that's looking nice. Finished right there where I messed up. Okay, I'm gonna quit while I'm ahead. All right, we are done. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it, and I had a blast. So I can't wait to paint with you again. Thank you so much for watching. And again, I hope it was helpful, and we'll see you next time.